Maryland runs the DMV.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and thank you for making us part of your day. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. The Terps make a statement win against Virginia and are officially the premier program in the DMV after beating Virginia Cavaliers 14-42 in a game that was not close. It was not close at all. Once we got on a roll after that slow start that we had in the first quarter, that's got to stop. Those slow starts absolutely have to stop going into Big Ten play because it happened last week against Charlotte. It happened this week against Virginia. And then once we play a Michigan State on the road, it's going to be a lot harder to win a game when we have a slow start. But Maryland was able to run off 42 unanswered points, and we looked like the faster, stronger, better overall team. Basically, all of our position groups I would have taken above Virginia players. We just looked better than Virginia. And I think it's safe to say that Maryland runs the DMV now. Look at Virginia. Virginia's 0-3. That's a DMV team that we compete against and that we're going to get compared to a lot, being in the same area for recruiting and in the same area for the DMV area for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. Virginia Tech is another one. Virginia Tech is 1-2. They just got crushed by Rutgers and they lost to Purdue. And don't forget about it. A couple years ago in the Pinstripe Bowl, we beat Virginia Tech 54-10 and beat them in every facet of the game. So like I said, Maryland is 3-0 and their fellow big time programs in the DMV are 0-3 and 1-2, but it was not always like this. It was not always Maryland as the premier program. I think that has been built up over the last couple of years, but I'm going to read you a little bit of the history to show that it has not always been Maryland as the premier program in the DMV area. Virginia Tech was for sure the program to be in the DMV area. They got the best recruiting. They got the best kids. They won the most games from 2004 to 2011, always had above 10 wins every single year. They didn't touch below 10, not even 9. They had 10. They had 11 wins, and they were one of the top programs around the country, Virginia Tech was. Virginia Cavaliers in 2018 and 2019 had 8 and 9 wins. They were solid. They were considered better than us in those years. In 2018 and 2019, guess what Maryland had? We were in 2018, 2019, we went 3-9 and 5-7 in those 2 years. So there is a change that is extremely important in the division and the hierarchy of the DMV. Even Virginia Tech in 2016 and 2017, they always had 9 and 10 wins. But like I said, we're the one that is on the top of that hierarchy now, and it feels good to be there. In the words of Torrey Smith, former Terp wide receiver who played in the NFL, who's very active on Twitter, loves the Maryland Terrapins, had this to say on Twitter: "Feels great to wake up as a fan of a school that runs the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area." And that's exactly what I'm saying. And why is that so important? It helps a ton with recruiting. It's already hard enough to beat out the Bamas and the Georgias. They come into the DMV for recruiting, all the top programs. Ohio State, they get guys every year from the DMV. They get the 5-star, they get the highly rated 4-stars. But there's so many. I want to focus on the 4-stars for Maryland. There's so many 4-star players that can lead us to being a top 25 class. And those recruits will not want to go to Virginia. They will not want to go to Virginia Tech as much because we are right now the better program. Let me read to you the 2023 recruiting class ranks and to show you that it has really changed. Virginia Tech's class 2023 class rank on 247, the 44th ranked class. UVA 2023 class rank, the 65th ranked class. Maryland's 2023 class, the 33rd ranked class in the country, and Maryland is also in front of all those three schools for the 2024 ranking. And it's a building block that Mike Locksley has kept putting in bricks to the house, kept building up that program that's going to be the best in the DMV area. It has just slowly kind of changed over the last couple of years. If you look at it, 2021, we had 7 wins. 2022, we had 8 wins, while Virginia Tech and UVA started to drop off. You started to see the drop-off coming, where Virginia Tech had 6 wins in 2021, 3 wins in 2022, and same with UVA. They had 6 wins in 2021 and 3 wins in 2022. So there's clearly been a slowly change that is forming like a little clay ball. It is slowly forming, but I'm going to say it's here. We are the premier program in the DMV, and there's also other reasons it's so important outside of recruiting. Obviously, recruiting is what makes your program, and that's the most important thing. If we're getting guys like our 4-star wide receiver commit, Mekhi White, out of Virginia. Virginia offered him. We beat him out. Christian Martin, one of the most underrated quarterback commits. He's going to Maryland 2024 class. Virginia wanted him too. We beat out Virginia for him. He was one of our top quarterback prospects on the board. So we're able to beat out Virginia and Virginia Tech for recruits clearly now. And if you saw on Twitter, Ryan Howerton was trying to get one of Virginia Tech's 4-star players that are one of the rare 4-stars that Virginia Tech has in their 24 class to flip to Maryland. He was actually at the Maryland game, the Virginia Tech commit. We'll see what happens with that. I doubt it happens, but you never know. And it just also makes it overall a more exciting time to be a Terps fan. Did you see the atmosphere for the game when you're winning games and you're the best program in the DMV and on the trajectory to be a consistent top 25 program? It brings so much excitement to the DMV. Like Zay Flowers was at our game, Baltimore wide receiver, had a game the next day on Sunday, just put up a really good performance for the Ravens. He was at our game. There's a bunch of celebrities at the game. It brings an overall excitement when you see Zay Flowers taking pictures in our locker room after. And that's some of the benefits of being one of the premier programs in the DMV. And that leads to things like recruiting. That leads to more wins and overall just a better program. But the thing for me is about staying there. Can we stay at one of the best program in the DMV area? Can we stay better than Virginia and Virginia Tech? Because as you've seen, it has changed over the last couple of years. It was Virginia Tech for 7 years. Virginia was maybe the best out of all three of us for a year or two. And now it's Maryland. So can we stay here for 10 years? That's the biggest question for me. And that's what I'm going to hope for us overall. That's what I hope to see us accomplish, and I hope Mike Locksley can do. Let's get into the offensive and defensive, and we got a little special teams MVP after this ad from BetterHelp. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnCollege. Who were the defensive and offensive MVP for the Terps against Virginia? Let's get into it. Offensive MVP, I had to give it to Taulia. Honestly, I thought he played his best game of the year, coming off of the stinker against Charlotte where he had 2 interceptions. I thought Taulia played his best game of the year. In his Towson game, he was a top 10 rated PFF quarterback. But I thought this game was better because Virginia is a stiffer competition. It was Friday night lights. People around the country were watching. There was a lot more pressure, and Virginia just has more talent than Towson. So I thought it was more impressive in that aspect. Taulia went 19 of 30 for 342 yards and a touchdown. And the key is the 0 interceptions. Like I said last week against Charlotte, he had 2 interceptions, and I'm sure Virginia tried some of those zone looks that Charlotte threw at Taulia that threw Taulia off that you don't normally see. I mean, that's the one knock against Taulia. He can get a little bit careless with the ball. Sometimes he can throw a little bit too many interceptions, and especially against zone coverage, I've noticed. But I'm sure Virginia tried to throw a couple of those looks that Charlotte threw at Taulia that were able to create the turnovers. But Taulia was able to have a huge day with 342 yards, like I said. And, some big-time throws, like a couple that stood out to me. Big-time throw to Caden Prather on a second down on the run when we were down. A bomb on the run to Jeshuan Jones, who had a really good game himself. That was one of the clips I saw on social media a ton. And then there was a huge pass. Corey Dyches, it could only be in one spot along the sideline for a 28-yard gain along the sideline. Really nice throw in between defenders, right on the sideline and down to the 2-yard line. He made so many big plays, and he got 342 yards on only 19 passes. So overall, Taulia was my offensive MVP, and I thought you also could give it to Jeshuan Jones, who had 5 receptions for 95 yards and looked really good doing it. Jeshuan Jones right now operates the slot and is Taulia's safety blanket overall. But our wide receiver core overall, I love our wide receiver core. I love our team overall this year, but our wide receiver core is awesome, and our overall skill groups are awesome. Let's get to the defensive MVP of the week, and it was not close. It was Tarheeb Still. 2 picks for Tarheeb Still. Not 1, but 2. Had his best game so far of the season and showed why he's one of the best cornerbacks in the country and the Big Ten. He had a huge pick in the end zone, and that was when the score was 21-14. So if he doesn't make that play, who knows what happens in the game? Maybe Virginia's able to stay in it and something crazy happens and Virginia's able to win the game. It really shifted the momentum, those 2 picks. Obviously, when we're leading the turnover margin, I think we won it 3-0 because we had 3 picks overall. Donnel Brown had another one, his second pick of the year. So Tarheeb and Donnel Brown both have 2 picks on the year, but Tarheeb looked great. He was locking dudes down, and I'm going to expect him to be a pretty high draft pick. I think he'll be able to go in the first 4 rounds because I think his versatility that he's shown at Maryland is going to go a long way for the NFL. Because look at it like this. NFL loves guys that can play in different spots. Obviously, in football, injuries are a huge thing. But also the NFL loves just guys that are versatile. So when Tarheeb Still is able to play the slot last year, played the slot the whole time last year with Deonte Banks and Jacorian Bennett outside, and he played the slot. And now he's playing outside and he's getting 2 interceptions. That's exactly what the NFL likes. So I think Tarheeb Still has improved his draft stock. And overall, I think he's setting himself up for an all Big Ten type of year. And we're going to need Tarheeb Still going into the next couple of weeks. This week, we got Michigan State. I'm super excited for that game. Obviously, we'll get into that game. But they struggled against Washington, but we can't underestimate them. We're going to need Tarheeb Still. And then when we get to the big dogs, obviously we're going to need Tarheeb Still to lock up guys like Marvin Harrison and them. And that will be able to improve his draft stock a ton. But overall, I love what Tarheeb Still did in the game with the 2 interceptions. And I think he is the defensive MVP for sure. But Donnel Brown had another interception. I want to make sure I point him out. Good for Donnel Brown for having 2 picks on the year. And I had to add in a special teams MVP for this week. And Braden Wisolowski, the true freshman, kickoff return for a touchdown when we were down 14-0. And we needed a momentum shift. Braden delivered it in the clutch on a kickoff return. This kid, Braden, he's going to be returning kicks for the rest of the year. He should be. I watched his high school film and everything, so I already kind of knew what he was about, but actually seeing it on the field, you can see how good of an athlete he is. He has like some type of track record too for his high school, I think, that he went to. So he was or he might have been even more than two-sport athlete. But if you watch his high school film, I don't like comparing high school players to NFL players, but it reminded me a lot of Deebo Samuel because of what he was able to bring in the run game and being a running back and being a wide receiver. He did everything for his team. All you got to do is get that dude the ball in space, and that's exactly what we're doing by giving him the kickoff returns. But he's got some speed too, and he's also a large guy. He's pretty strong, dude. Over the next couple of years, wait for him. He's going to be, especially next year when the wide receiver room is a little bit more empty, I promise you, we'll start using him a lot. He's going to be a really good player overall, but we're going to use him on screen. We might use him on a couple of run plays. We're going to have him outside at wide receiver. He's going to do a whole lot of things. He's listed at a wide receiver, but you cannot limit what that kid can do. Like I said, he's a Deebo Samuel type, one of those guys that can do just a little bit of everything. But we absolutely needed him in that game to shift the momentum. I was concerned in the first quarter when they went at 14-0 because I thought everything was coming true. I was like, they lied, or they didn't lie, but I guess Tony Muskett, they're supposedly supposed to be their starting quarterback, wasn't ready to go. And then Anthony, their freshman quarterback, I didn't want to see him play because I thought that kid could make some throws, and I thought he was a game changer. And that's what he was at the beginning of the game until he got turnover heavy. So I was like, all these things are coming true. All my concerns are Maryland's not able to run the ball, and Virginia has their quarterback throwing dots out here, and we're down 14-0 in a Power 5 game. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but Braden came up clutch overall, and his plays all over Instagram, Twitter. So great stuff, Braden, for being special teams MVP, and I'm going to add that in each week. Should Colby McDonald get more touches? I'll tell you after this ad from the Athletic Brewery and a quick message from Locked On. College football season is here, and this season, Locked On is kicking up your coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. Each Friday, Locked On will go live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, conference rivalry games, and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live each Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. Now time for your Game Changer of the Week, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. And much like Tagovailoa, Athletic Brewing has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. You don't have to worry about hangovers. I talked to many people in the Locked On community, and they say they taste great. They're the fastest growing non-alcoholic brewery in the U.S., so get on board. You can find Athletic Brewing Co.'s non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use Locked On to get 15% off your first online order. That's code Locked On at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com near beer. Exclusion and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. Should Colby McDonald get more carries for the Terps? Yes, he should. Last week, I was a little bit hesitant. I was like, Antoine Littleton should be running back too. But after watching this Maryland versus Virginia and how disappointing our run game was against the Virginia Cavaliers that were last or top or bottom 10 in FBS in college football stopping the run, after watching how Roman Hemby and Antoine Littleton both average under 3.1 yards per carry when Virginia was giving up 5.3 yards per carry before playing us, I gotta say Colby McDonald has to get more carries. He had 10 carries for 75 yards, while both Littleton and Hemby had below 28 yards against, like I said, the worst run defense in FB and one of the worst run defenses in the FBS. So what does this mean? I'm not saying Colby McDonald's the running back one. That's Roman Hemby. He just went crazy last week. He actually I think I'm going to do a segment about this tomorrow. He just got rated second running back on Mel Kiper's NFL draft big board. Colby McDonald isn't going in front of Roman Hemby. But Antoine Littleton, it's tough for me to defend him when Colby McDonald is just so clearly outplaying him. And I'm so for playing the best player. In last game, Colby McDonald actually did get the most touches. I think he racked up some touches near the end. But he's just creating so many rushing yards. He averages the most rushing yards on our team. He averages almost 8 yards per carry. He has 21 carries for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I want to see what he does overall with more carries heading into the Michigan State week. It might change a little bit, but I'm okay with him getting more carries than Antoine Littleton because he's deserved it. He's honestly deserved it. He's played better, and we got to feed the hot hand at some point. You got to just look at it and be like, we got to play the best player. But overall, I think Ramon Brown should be coming back soon. I'm not even sure what his injury is. I saw him on the injury report, but they didn't have listed what his injury was. So I'm unsure when Brown is coming back, but Brown was supposed to be really the third running back and offer some explosion similar to Roman Hemby, but we've gotten that from Colby McDonald. So I'm so satisfied with how Colby McDonald plays. I think our running back room is kind of interesting place right now. It's a lot of talent. Like I said, Roman Hemby just got second on Mel Kiper's big board for running backs. I think it's because of his versatility and where the NFL game is, what he brings with the pass catching, what he brings is his explosive ability, how he can run the ball, how he can run the ball outside, screen pass for 80 yards, how Roman Hemby can do it all. That's the NFL game today. So we have one of the best running backs in the country. Clearly, I hope Roman Hemby stays in college, though. I really do. And then Colby McDonald's averaging 8 yards per carry. I'm sure that's top of the country. That's got to be up there. I'm not sure how many guys are averaging more than 8 yards per carry that have more than like 20 carries. I'm sure it's not a lot of guys. But then we have Antoine Littleton struggling. He just hasn't found it yet, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I never expect him to be like a guy that averages 6 or 5 yards per carry. I just expect him to get the short yardage, and I think we might be putting him in spots that he shouldn't be in. But overall, I think next game, Colby McDonald has to be the second running back in. I'll be interested to see what Coach Loxley does, but Colby McDonald, it looks like it's Colby time. So that's all we have for today. Please like and subscribe. We'll be talking about Michigan State soon. We'll continue to talk about this big win against Virginia, but it's official. We run the DMV. But like I said, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on Locked on Terps.